What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with a brand new review for Sistas on BET. This is season 6, episode number 8, and this episode was titled Uneven Playing Field, you guys. So, before we go ahead and jump into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, then I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop checking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss Sistas on BET, shall we? All right, guys, so this episode, we open up with Fatima. So Fatima is talking to Andy, and, she's just basically telling Andy how, I'm done with this situation with Zach. She asked Andy for the ring, so Andy gave her the ring back. She said, I knew you would want the ring, so I just kept it on me. So Fatima's like, yeah, I'm going to give Zach this ring back. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and end this because I just don't want to be second fiddle to Karen because he's obviously still in love with Karen. And so Andy is, sitting here telling Fatima, like, no, Fatima, don't do that. Like, if you break up with him, then that, you guys give me hope. And if that's the case, then I have no hope. I'm like, I hope you don't have no hope when it comes to Gary, but okay, Andy, go off, right? So yeah, Fatima just, it was a bunch of back and forth about, no, I don't want to stay with him. And Andy pleading to her, right? And so at one point, Fatima said, if she asks you what happened, tell her I'm not going to compete with another woman and that she can have him, right? And so she said, and it looks like I'm not the only person that needs to break something off with someone today, because Gary walked into the office. So when Gary came in, Gary wanted to have a conversation with Andy about what she had said to him the night before. Remember the previous episode when she got so high that she was telling Gary that it was all about the sex, that was the only reason why she deals with him, right? Which we know that that's 100% true. And we all know that Gary got in his little, feelings, right? So he wanted to address that. And so Andy says, well, I spoke the truth, Gary. Like, it's about sex. The sex is good. So Gary wants to hit her with the, oh, well, you're talking about the sex is good with us, but you're not the best sex that I ever had. And I was like, okay. I would have laughed in Gary's face. Then I think he said at one point her head game is not good. I would have said, okay. And you continuously have sex with me, but it's not good and my head game is not good. But okay, Gary, why are you telling me this? And she's like, oh, you're doing this as get back. I was like, exactly, he's definitely doing it as get back. And you are affected by it because your face is screaming, I want to slap this man. But you should hit him with, like I just said, you should hit Gary with the get you gotcha. Okay, Gary, you want to say that, but who's the one that's always at my apartment saying, come home? Who's the one that's always calling and texting me about us having sex? That's right, it's you, Gary, not me. But she didn't do that, and I was like, girl, that was an easy one right there. Like, you had him. So then he was like, well, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to be over to your place at 8 o'clock to not have sex anymore. And Andy was like, I'm not going to be at home at 8 o'clock, but I'll be there at 9:30. I was like, oh my God, Andy, you're stupid. You're just dumb. Nothing else to say about that. But let's pause here and move forward, you guys. All right, you guys, so we move over to Hayden's office, and Tamara finished doing, her sloppy toppy, right? And so she told Hayden that, I'm going to go home and I'm going to cook and I'm going to get ready for us to finish what we started here. I was like, finish what you start. So he didn't finish. Oh, never. Okay, girl, set yourself off, right? So Gary came in and Hayden introduced Gary and Tamara to each other, right? So Tamara left, and when Tamara left, Gary told Hayden to read the file. Hayden said he doesn't want to read the file, right? So Gary proceeds to tell him that he didn't find anything out about Tamara. The only thing that he found about Tamara was that she got in trouble when she was in high school. But other than that, she's okay. But he still does need to get that annulment. Now, that is something that I can absolutely agree with Gary on, that, he should get that annulment from her because, yeah, I definitely agree about that one. So after that, we move over to another scene, right? So in this scene, we see Zach and him and Karen are at a coffee shop. So this coffee shop that they're at, it is a coffee shop where they went on their second date, right? So they're talking to each other, and Karen is asking him about their second date and why was he so nervous. He told her why he was so nervous, and listening to Karen talk to Zach in this scene, I was like, Karen, you really are like getting your hopes up. This man is in love with Fatima. Yes, he still loves you, but it's a different type of love, right? So he even told her that he said, I love Fatima. She said, do you love her the way you love me? He said, no, I don't, right? But then he proceeded to tell her the difference between his love for her and his love for, Fatima. And so she made a colossal fool of herself in this particular scene, right? Because at one point she said, well, Zach, I want you to go home with me and make love to me. I want to feel you inside me, Zach. I was like, Karen. Desperation is just not a good look on you, sis. It's not a great look on you. It's really not becoming, right? So he told her, I'm not coming over to your crib, Karen. She said, okay, well, I'm going to leave the door unlocked. He said, you don't have to do that. She said, yes, I do, because you don't have a key. He said, I'm not coming, Karen. She said, the person that I want to come over, he will come over. He said, if you leave the door open, somebody else, you're going to get the wrong person. The wrong person's going to come over. She said, no, you're going to come, Zach. I was like, oh my God, like, how do I handle, like, I hate with Karen, you guys. I cannot. Like, I've never saw someone so delusional, so desperate, so it's just so many things when it comes to Karen. Delusional, desperate. The list goes on and on and on and on when it comes to Karen, and I just really want Tyler to write Karen in a different direction than what he currently is, because the current trajectory of Karen, not like I've said plenty of times when it comes to sisters, I don't really particularly like any of the sisters. If I had to pick one sister that I do like, it would actually be Danny. Danny would be the only one that I can say, yes, I do like. But outside of Danny, I just don't really see it for the rest of them. I think Karen is delusional, desperate, bitter. Andy is a smart, educated thought and a moron. And Sabrina is just naive as hell. That's really all I got for that. So let's pause here and move forward, you guys. Now, in this episode, I will say, like, the scene with Karen and Zach, that scene went on too long. This scene with Andy and Fatima went on for too long. Like, every scene in this episode was longer than it should have been. So next up, we see Danny. So Danny got home, right? And she saw that Preston had cooked. And she was telling Preston, like, hey, you can go home. Like, I don't think that guy's going to come back. And Preston was like, to be safe, I'm going to stay for a few more days and then I'll go, right? So Danny finally decided that she wanted to have a conversation with Preston, right? And, she finally said that I have been thinking about this. And if you are okay with it and you want to proceed forward with me with this, us trying to have a relationship, we can do it. I was like, it's about damn time, Danny. About time. I'm so happy that Danny finally said it, right? So to celebrate, Preston wants to take Danny out for dinner, and she was like, but you just could. He's like, no, this needs to be celebrated, right? So she's gonna go change, and they're gonna go out for a date. So then we see Sabrina. So Sabrina went over to Calvin and Maurice's place, and she wanted to let Maurice know, like, hey, I sat down with Q and had a conversation with him, and so both Calvin more specifically, wanted to know what the conversation was, and but Maurice said it didn't go anywhere. And Calvin kept asking it, what happened? And Maurice kept saying it went nowhere. And Sabrina had to say, yeah, it didn't do anything. So once again, Maurice wants to talk about taking Q out, and I'm like, Maurice, let's sit and think about this, right? If you do what you want to say, if you do what you say you want to do to Q, you and Sabrina will be the prime suspects, and that would make that case stronger, right? Because it will go from a robbery case to a murder case as well, right? Because that would then make you look guilty. Like, why would you take someone out if you are innocent, even though he is lying, right? So that would make you look 10 times more guilty. And Sabrina and Calvin had to tell him that, and I was like, oh my God. You know, Maurice actually does get on my nerves at times, and I like Maurice, but there are really a lot of times where I'll just be like, why does Maurice act the way he acts? And it's bothersome, it's irksome, right? So Maurice left the apartment. They thought that Maurice was talking about, taking himself out, right? Because he said he had another plan, and he'll see them on the other side. And they were like, "Oh my God, what is Maurice gonna do?" Maurice said, "Bitch, I ain't gonna do nothing to myself. I'm going to get my wigs, get his edge up, right?" So, do I want to pause here? Yeah, let's pause here and go ahead and wrap up this episode, you guys. So Maurice left the apartment, right? And before he left, after he left actually, Sabrina got a phone call and it was Andy, right? So Andy is asking, for all the girls to meet up at Karen's place, right? So Sabrina called up Danny and asked Danny what was she doing. She said, I'm getting ready to go out with Preston, right? And she says, well, Andy called and wanted us to go over to Karen's house. Danny, girl, why did you drop your date with Preston for Karen? Do you think Karen will do the same thing for you? Maybe, maybe not, right? But I'm sorry, I want to drop my date for no goddamn Karen, right? So then we get over to Zach and Fatima. Actually, before we got to Zach and Fatima, Maurice. Maurice went down to the airport and he bumped into Q, right? So Q was getting into a car with some girl. Now I was like, wait a minute, who is this lady? Who is this? Like, Q picks up people like it ain't nothing, right? Or maybe I should say people pick up Q, right? This hobo has gone from place to place to place to place to place to place. So yeah, I would call Q a hobosexual, right? Because he just need a place to lay his head at night. So Maurice was trying to warn the woman about Q. That woman wasn't paying him no attention. She looked like, I'm sorry, but looking at that woman, she looked like she just wanted to break, because she was trying her hardest not to laugh at the shit that he was saying. But I'm like, girl, if this man is telling you that he will rob you and all this kind of stuff, I'm like, you know what? How does he know that? You know what? Better question or better answer to that question, get the fuck out of my car. But she didn't say that. And I was like, okay, girl, if you like it, I love it, right? So then we move over to Zach and Fatima. So, they finally had a conversation, and, Fatima basically was telling Zach how, you leaving me for Karen, that wasn't cool. And I agree with Fatima, right? It wasn't cool. And at one point, I know Zach brought, like, I get that she's upset and whatnot, and I get that she's upset that he met with Karen, but my thing is, you met up with your ex Ian, so I know that Ian was dying, right? But Zach thought Karen had died as well, so he was just relieved to see Karen. So I get Fatima's anger, upset, and frustration with Zach. I do get it, right? I do get it. And Zach was wrong. Zach was wrong when he jetted out of that office, right, and left Fatima behind. That was where Zach really lost me, right? When he jetted out of that office and ran and went right over there to the salon. He was also wrong when they were all together and Karen showed up and he was the first one to run to Karen, right? I mean, I think everybody would have done, I think all of them should have, everybody would be like, oh my God, Karen, right? And like I said before, he should have let her girls get to her first before he went and got to her, but it is what it is, right? So Zach did tell Fatima that he loves her, but he does still love Karen, but he's just not in love with Karen like he is with her. And I was like, okay, cool. So he also told Fatima that he sat down with Karen, right? And she said, okay, well, tell me everything that she said. And he told her, she said that she wants me to come over to her house and that, she wants to have sex with me. But he declined all of that, obviously so. He's sitting right here in front of her, right? So Zach and Fatima, they made up with each other. And, Fatima put her ring back on. And, she put her ring back on and they did the do, right? And so I was like, ooh, Karen, you are in some shit. This man done just sat here and, professed his love to his fiance, told his fiance to put her ring back on, and he having sex with his fiance. Meanwhile, you over at your apartment like the lonely spinster, and you are waiting for this man to come up to your apartment, right? Now, here's the thing that gets me with the girls. They all do this to each other, and it annoys me with each one of them, right? I'm cool with your friends having keys to your houses, right? That's not a problem. Family, friends having keys to your place, right? But that is in case of an emergency. But with this friend group, it's not in case of an emergency. Andy was the first one to walk into Karen's house and uninvited. And she's like, "Did you call?" And Andy's like, "Do I ever call? You gonna call, or I'ma pop you. One of the two. Announce yourself or get popped." Like, that bothers me with them. So Andy was the first one to walk in, and then Sabrina and Danny were behind her, right? So they thinking that they finna sit down and find out who the father of her child is, right? No. No, 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 no. Oh, I forgot to mention at one point. So when Zach and Karen were sitting down, she's like, "You just gonna act like me and this baby don't exist?" Well, you exist. That baby is questionable. We don't know that there's a real baby. We don't know that there's a real baby. You are not showing, sis. Then we also don't know that this baby is yours. Although Tyler, I think you be forgetting some of the stuff that you write sometimes, because you did write that when that woman gave. Well, actually, when she did that thing when she did the thing last season, where the woman did the test on her to see when she conceived, Karen didn't have a good time frame. She didn't know the time frame, right? Or she lied to us, because she lied to us and said it was Zach's baby. But I knew then and there that that heifer was lying, that she didn't know that was Zach's baby because it was too close. I think that Karen is too close to know when she actually conceived her child. But that's neither here nor there, right? So yeah, they sitting there, they talking, and Karen talking about Zach is coming over for sex. Girl, Zach ain't coming over for sex. And so they were like, "Did Zach say that?" And Fatima came in, and then was like, "Oh shit!" Like, and she's like, "Yeah, what did Zach say?" And that's where the episode ended, you guys. And I was like, "Yes, Fatima, just snatch her by that wig and just wear her out. Like, just beat the brakes off of Karen. Beat that ass." That's all, you guys. Overall, this episode was a lot of nothing but the ending of it. Oh, and then Karen gonna have a lot of attitude in next week's episode. Girl, you invited her man over. Calm down, sis. Calm your ass and that wig down. But Fatima, wear her ass out. But that's it, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and share the video, you guys. And until the next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.